Malfurion versus.
Okay, so we do see the double druid coming out here. So Realz electing not to go with that rogue once again. Trump kind of as expected going with the druid. I mean, this makes sense though. You talked about it. It's kind of even, against most of the matchups. And double wild growth in the hand of Realz. I believe that is Realz on the bottom.
I think Realz is going to be the one on top.
Okay, well, double wild growth is a beautiful opening hand there.
Yeah, we can actually see Trump isn't actually running Ancient Watchers at all too, which is something interesting to note.
Yeah, that is interesting. And I memean, this is definitely going to be such a nice opening hand, and we can see Trump really thinking about this. He's really thinking what he wants to. They're thinking a lot about what they want to keep, and they are going to decide to confirm that. So it is going to be double wild growth swipe and Druid of the Claw for Trump, and Realz is going to get that Yeti. But I mean, this is really nice and actually interesting to see him coining this out. Now, this is something that I've seen. Usually, people are going to just pass that turn and then coin and save their coin for later, and then wild growth on the turn too. Now, why do you think he coined that out?
I think the major player...
Because he's kind of talking about the value, because now it's like he just has the one mana that he can't do anything with on the turn 2, so the coin really didn't accomplish anything.
I think the major player in what's happening here is that he wants to look to draw some curve here and really put a lot of pressure on his opponent with playing this Druid of the Claw on curve, and then also following up. So again, if you draw something like Sylvanas here, which speak of the devil, of course, this is going to really accentuate what's happening in terms of how his game plan is going to progress going forward. And I think that's the major difference in whether or not he chooses to coin wild growth or just wild growth at all. The second one, and also the Druid of the Claw being in his hand.
Interesting. All right, so we will see exactly, and he's obviously not going to attack into that with the Sun Fury Protector. There's no reason to. He wants to get some value here. And I mean, the Ancient Watcher with the taunt is so annoying because it's not like you can really silence it. You silence it, then it becomes active to attack.
Right.
I mean, it's just kind of a pain to get rid of. And it looks like he is just going to pass the turn. He doesn't want to attack into that. And there's not really that much else he can do here. And this is kind of just starting out as a little bit of a slower pace here. I'll be interested to see, exactly what the move is here. You could obviously just go Druid of the Claw, get the charge out, but you're not going to be able to use that this turn anyway. I mean, you could theoretically go Savage Roar to remove it that way. That might be something that Realz is thinking about. There's a few different ways to do this. You could obviously trade the Yeti plus the Sun Fury into that and take it out that way, because you don't really want to leave too many strong minions on the board either versus the Sylvanas.
Right.
So, I mean, that's something you really have to consider. It is kind of annoying having to trade that out, but do you really want to do that? And I mean, I think that's maybe what he's setting up for. If he drops the Ancient Watcher, that's kind of just maybe trying to put something a little bit useless on the board that could get stolen by the Sylvanas.
Right, that's exactly what he's trying to do. Sylvanas specifically ends up being really good against Druid matchups because of scenarios like this.
Yeah.
So when this occurs, it's extremely difficult to not only counter this board position, but find a way to develop against it as well, because you don't want to give initiative to your opponent in a spot like this. So with the way that Realz's hand is constructed, it really says a lot to Trump about what's going on Realz's side of the board here. So when he just passes, Trump has got to be aware that Realz's hand could potentially be weak in a spot like this, and that he can press his advantage now really hard with a couple of point-blank removal spells to make sure that he really gets what he wants to get, or to just pick apart his board.
I mean, now what do you think about the Innervate scenarios here and buffing the minions?
That's actually pretty good.
It seems like a pretty good move. I mean, you can trade out, remove that Ancient Watcher, put your Sylvanas, remove with that, maybe keep that at pretty low HP, keep your taunt at high HP, something like that. I think that is what he's going to do.
That's actually a really devastating play.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's well, Druid is actually something that I play a fair bit. So I know like a little bit about Druid. I'm not so clueless, but I assume that's what he's going to do. You put the Sylvanas to low HP, that puts it in a position now where you can trade out very easily next turn with it. You keep your taunt at high HP. I think that was a really, really good turn.
Yeah, that's a huge swing.
Because I mean, now it's at 3 HP. He could trade that into the Ancient Watcher if he wanted, or go Yeti. Either or. I mean, if you go the Ancient Watcher route, then obviously you have a higher chance of getting a useful minion. If you go the Yeti, you're guaranteeing that you're going to remove something useful with it. So it's like a little bit of a trade back and forth there. But Savage Roar going to come out, and with a lot of minions on the board, makes sense. He can obviously hero power up as well if he wants to do that for the additional damage and armor, and I'm assuming he's going to since he didn't play the Sun Fury Protector just yet. But I mean, if he does trade into that, he's losing the Yeti. He still has to do a second trade into this, and I mean, the second trade obviously should be the golem if he's going to go for that because you have the death rattle coming out.
I think he's actually going to use his face to kill this 6/2, and he's going to use his 2 4/3s to kill the Cenarius.
Okay. And then just have the Ancient Watcher on. So
right,
I mean,
and he's going to hope it takes one of these. I'm assuming the poorer of the 2 minions, and I think he's going to follow that up with a Sun Fury Protector on that Ancient Watcher.
Okay. Now this would be interesting.
I actually like this play a lot.
Yeah, I think this is really good. At the same time, you know, you could theoretically. Okay, so he's going like that.
Whoa!
That I think that seems like a mistake to me.
That's a really
big
play.
mistake. That's what? That was really a big mistake, I think, man. I think if you're going to do that, if you're going to do that, then why wouldn't you simply attack with the golem first, and then you're giving him either your death rattle or the untaunted minion instead of that? I mean, he's giving him a taunted minion or the Sun Fury. He's giving him something much more valuable either way. So to me, that was just a clear mistake. And I think that's almost guaranteed just lost him the game.
I think one of the other things he may be thinking about is that if he ends up losing this Ancient Watcher in the spot that it's in, that if it doesn't end up killing this Cenarius, he's just going to end up losing the game. So I think he wanted the only justification I can imagine for that is if he wanted to give his opponent a 2/3.
But either way, I mean, he could attack the golem into it, that would kill it off, and then the death rattle from Sylvanas can steal the death rattle from the golem or the untaunted Ancient Watcher.
He used the golem. Oh, I see.
No, he didn't. He used the golem after. He taunted it, then used the golem.
Okay, so I see what you're saying. He used the golem to attack the other 4.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think that is if that's his plan, it just is strictly a mistake.
Yeah, I think that was just a mistake.
But even
I mean, unless I'm just totally misunderstanding what he's trying to do here.
Right.
But either way, that's such a risky play, and I feel like how are you going to come back from this now? I mean, look at the board.
A free 4/5 taunt.
Yeah, I mean, you gave him a free 4/5 taunt, and I mean, which was like, he didn't even get it. You know, didn't even give it to him for free. He traded one of his minions to give him that.
Right.
You know, with the death rattle from the Sylvanas. So that seems like kind of a rough play. Interesting here, you know, from Trump. Trump has a lot of different moves he could make. I mean, you know, he could simply go 1 for 1. He could just go face. I mean, he could swipe. How much damage can he actually do to the face? He can do swipe to the face, 10, so he has 14, 1 from the hero power. He could even,
17.
and then the 2 from that. So
I'm really surprised he chooses to draw 3 cards here, actually.
Okay. Now, I mean, do you think you go? Now, there's some options here. Like, obviously, you can use the Mark of the Wild later to activate the Black Knight, or you can do the swipe. Okay, so he's going to do the swipe, and then probably innervate hero power. I like that actually a lot. Innervate hero power, so you know, he removes the board, takes a little bit of damage to his face, but who cares?
So you can definitely afford it at this point.
And I mean, this gives him almost guaranteed lethal next turn. How can he really do anything here? I mean, sure, he can heal himself, but there's nothing he can do. Yeah, concede. So
I think even despite this 4/5 being stolen here, Trump got so far ahead on the board so quickly with that Cenarius that I think that even going into